So there has been a lot of talk very recently about what happened in the European elections. Now, obviously, you saw a big push by, pardon me, by the far right to, to take, shall we say, overall control in the European Parliament. However, that did not happen. Now, yes, they did gain some significant victories. You saw a lot of course, celebrating in the usual places, Italy, Budapest, Vienna. You saw these victories by these very, very far right parties. However, it was not an overall victory. Yes, they got what 30, 35%, I believe, of the total vote. Now that does not give them overall control in Parliament, in the EU Parliament, shall we say? Remember, the EU Parliament is, of course, proportional representation, and as I've said many, many times, this could be a very, very interesting reflection on, shall we say, the future of indeed not only how progressive politics needs to work in working with other parties to get progressives and progressive policies done, but make sure that you fight smart battles, not dumb ones. Make sure that you work together with them. Don't die on a stupid hill where you know you've got other policy victories that you could very, very, very easily have. But make no mistake that right now, Europe's and its European progressives' ultimate priority right now should be, and I say this with all sincerity, should be to create a coalition of losers. Because if you create that coalition, not only do you secure the next 5 years for a lot of very progressive things to happen within the EU and its parliament, but you will also keep the far right out of power in EU from doing too much damage. So before we get on to talking more about these things, please do remember to click on the like, the share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee. We can all buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. And of course, do remember to click on the like, the share, and the subscribe button if you are new to the channel as well. So, what obviously has happened here, before we even get to talking about how this coalition should be brought about and done, let's talk about why, first of all, these far right parties, they ain't going to work together. As much as they are, quote, celebrating their victories, now they are going to be in power. They are actually now going to take those seats. And the question should be asked, what are they going to do? Well, first things first, foremost, all these different right-wing parties, these different right-wingers that have been elected, all have fundamentally different views, different ideas, and even ideology, what they want to do when it comes to the EU. This means that they are systematically not going to be working together very well at all. And if they do come together, then it might not be necessarily for very long. And this is one of the areas where we have to have this coalition of losers, because we cannot allow other progressive parties in Europe to be picked off one by one by these by this right-wing bloc. They have to come together and they have to start working together on a number of things, because Europe over the next 5 years is going to face some significant challenges. Obviously, climate being the biggest one. You've got, of course, the war in Ukraine. How do you fight against Russian aggression? Obviously, immigration is going to be something that the right are going to want to sort of talk about. So progressives should have stuff that they want to do and put forward for how they intend to solve this, to show that, hey, their ideas are actually better than one of the right wing stuff are going to be putting forward. Obviously, there is the big question about competition with China. So there are a number of things over the next 5 years which are going to be very, very big problems for the EU, which they are going to sort of have to tackle. And to do that, they are going to have to come together with, of course, the center right. So these, well, shall we say, the centrist parties that Ursula von der Leyen currently leads, because I believe her party, the European People's Party, or the EPP as it's called, they got 186 seats, but they still need more if they are going to get this majority. They need 100 and I think it's like 170. I think they roughly need like 170 seats or something to be able to secure a next term. This is where these progressive, left wing leaning parties need to come together and work with them, because they can definitely get a lot of good stuff from this, but they have to negotiate. But they should also be careful that they can get a lot of stuff through. So some of the parties, or at least some of the ideas or priorities that they should be really focusing on, first of all, getting that commitment to having no backsliding with the European Green Deal, because ultimately the right wing are going to try and really sort of dismantle that and stop it at any way possibly they can. So making sure that that goes through obviously is going to be certainly a main priority. The next one, of course, is to really make sure that there are targeted social measures, because there are going to be households that cannot meet this transition to afford, thermal, uh, all these renovations that they're going to have to do, or even afford, electric vehicles. What is Europe and these progressives going to do? Getting that is going to be a big part, certainly, of that transition. Second of all, third of all, should we say, definitely something you want to do, given that we are seeing, a rise of the far right, making sure that the EU budget allocations is only conditional, or at least conditional, should we say, on the respect for rule of law and the democratic criteria that the EU does insist on. We've obviously seen this with Hungary. Hungary having a big problem at the moment. We've seen big protests against Orban because Orban is having his EU money sort of slowly cut off a bit at a time. It's causing him big problems, but he needs that money from the EU. I fully expect maybe all those Hungarian far right people to try and approach these people to try and sort of get that money flowing again. But definitely something that, if you want to sort of, should we say, stymie the rise of the far right, probably something, you should probably do, look at that, certainly, for sure. But number 4, certainly look for collective European borrowing for when it comes to major projects. So you're talking defense, climate change, reconstruction aid for Ukraine when the war is over. That is certainly going to be something that we are going to see. Digital infrastructure, massively something that will be needed over the next coming years. A lot of places, certainly in Eastern Europe, do not have the best digital infrastructure. Yet, if we really invest in that digital infrastructure, really sort of bring that forward, that will add a lot of GDP to those countries. But the final one, of course, is still that military aid to Ukraine and, of course, reconstruction aid to Ukraine once the war is over. And, of course, making sure that the negotiations with not only Ukraine, but Moldova, and even eventually, by the looks of it, Georgia, do proceed very smoothly. Ultimately, those are going to be some of the things that we do want to see moving forward, going on that front. So make no mistake, right now, there is, obviously, not good results. Everyone, I think, will agree to that. But the far right did not gain ultimate control here. What needs to happen now is that these progressive parties and these progressive, forces in the European Parliament need to come together now more so than ever and work with Ursula von der Leyen and her party. But you can get some very good stuff if you are willing to sit down and negotiate. And certainly a lot of those things of the sort of the different left parties are very much aligned on that one, and do align with a lot of stuff that Ursula von der Leyen would want to do as well. So there is a lot of room there for these parties to negotiate on that front. So it is not all doom and gloom. There is a very, very good sort of progressive fight back I could see happening within Europe, especially when it comes to sort of an EU level. And I said it before at the beginning, but a coalition of losers is now the best hope for progressives in Europe to come together and start to have a very, very significant fight back against the far right in Europe. So let me know what you think, but I think that is their best option sort of going forward. Let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, there are links to my Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, all those links down below, the YouTube thank you button, the Pony Club, etc. Like I say, click the link, click the links down below, click the like, click the share button on your way out. And of course, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.